Hi, hello and welcome. Are you a person considering to switch the career to data science but not sure where to begin? Are you new to IT and eager to learn a skill which completely stands out? Or perhaps you are in a different domain and need a powerful tool which is truly impactful and would elevate your career? If any of this resonates with you, then start your journey by learning Microsoft Power BI. Microsoft Power BI is a phenomenal tool to understand and visualize data like never before. And if you're not yet familiar with Power BI, you might be missing out on a skill that's rapidly becoming essential in the world of business. In this video, we shall explore Power BI through a practical hands-on approach using a dataset from a chocolate distribution company. It's a pretty simple dataset. And by the end, you shall be building this report, or some call it as a dashboard. I'll be trying to explain the concept in a very simple, plain language and complemented with completely real-world examples without much or no technical jargons at all. Whether you are aiming to pivot your career or broaden your professional abilities or to satisfy your curiosity about data visualization, and if you are ready to take the first step, turn on your curiosity. You have all the resources in the show notes. You just have to go there, click the link and download the dataset, images and the document file with all the formulas what you need to build this report. I've also attached my completed Power BI file which is in a .pbx format in case if you want to refer to if you get stuck. So we'll start with installation of Power BI, understanding the data what we have, and we'll also be learning about the concept of a Power BI ecosystem. We'll be transforming some data, we'll be modeling the data, and we'll be putting up these visuals. So without much ado, let's start. My name is Vinayak Panchaman and welcome to DataDelimited. So this would be the flow, how we'll be going forward. We'll be starting with installation, then we'll get into the introduction part where I'll be quickly explaining you the Power BI ecosystem, what it is and what it has. And we'll be understanding what is the project about, and we'll also be understanding what data we have inside. Later, we'll be getting into completely hands-on with a Power BI desktop. So we'll be looking at how to connect and transform data with Power Query, and we'll be building relationship between the tables so that it can talk to each other. And we'll be putting up some DAX formulas. We'll be trying it out with a lot of measures, calculated columns. We'll be looking at how to put a calculated table. And later we'll be working with a date table. And later on, finally, we'll be working with the visualizations. There we'll be putting up the new released new card visuals. We'll be working with the old and good bar and pie charts. We'll be working with map objects. We'll also be working with tables and metrics visuals. It's very powerful. And of course, the AI visuals. And we'll wrap it up. So let's start with the installation of Power BI Desktop. For Windows users, there are two ways how you can install Power BI Desktop. Go to the Microsoft website and you can download Power BI Desktop from here. I've put the links in the show notes. Pretty straightforward installation as you install any other applications. So this is one way, but I would prefer the second way. The second way is go to the Microsoft Store over here and type in Power BI Desktop. So if you just type Power BI, there will be a lot of other applications as well, but check for Power BI Desktop. So since I have already installed it in my system, it's not asking me to install or get the app over here. It's an application. So you just have to get that app. It will take care of everything for you. So just go ahead and get the app. After you get the app, it's around 700-800 MB file. So it just takes a couple of minutes. That's it, depending on your speed of your computer and the Wi-Fi. So after you complete installation, just keep it open. For the Mac users, you'll have to install something similar to Parallels or use a VM machine to install Power BI Desktop. So that's how you have to go ahead because we don't have a application to install it in Mac. So hopefully you all have installed Power BI Desktop by now. Let's briefly understand what is Power BI landscape or what does it have as an ecosystem, then continue with the project. So let's understand what Power BI is and also understand the Power BI ecosystem. So what is Power BI? Power BI as a tool which is used to analyze and visualize the data and tell a story with the data. Where do we have the data? So we usually have the data in an SQL server where it's stored together, or in a enterprise resource planning tool or EAM tool like SAP and Salesforce, or a simple Excel sheet. So what we do with Power BI is we'll connect to this data, pull the data, what we need to solve a particular requirement, and put it as a report or a dashboard. That's simple as it is. So fetch the data, work with the data, show some insight. So data to information, information to insight. That's what we do with Power BI. So Power BI as a tool or as an ecosystem has mainly two components in it. First one is Power BI Desktop. The next is Power BI Service. Let's begin with Power BI Desktop. So Power BI Desktop is the one which you downloaded currently. It's a standalone application which you can download and install in your local computer. So what we do with this, we curate the data or collect the data, do some transformation as required for analysis, and put the visuals, very intuitive visuals with interactive functionalities in it, and give it to users so they can analyze the data and make the decisions from it. So what is the process involved in developing such a report where business user can use it? It's pretty simple. We connect to the data, to a source data, for example, an Excel sheet or a SQL server, and bring the data to Power BI environment or Power BI Desktop, transform the data and load the data. Transformation involves removing the null values, looking for errors, troubleshooting those things, and do a lot of adding column, deleting columns, and all these kind of transformations. So we do those kind of transformation in the first part. That's the first pillar of Power BI development process. So the next thing is modeling the data. The tables, for example, if you have brought in a sales table and a finance table, if you want the data to speak to each other, we have to make a relationship with the tables. So that's what we do here as part of modeling. We also put up some calculated columns and measures. For example, if you have cost, price and the quantity in the table, and if you want to find out a sales price, you just multiply the cost price into quantity, right? So those kind of simple expressions, we write it with a language called as data analysis expression, which is DAX. It's pretty simple language if you understand. So we write some expressions and we make we build the model over there and keep it ready. So the next part is visualizing. We'll be selecting the right chart, the right color schema, the right navigation, the right functionalities. We'll put everything together in a beautiful front end. That's what we do in visualization. And we take this and build these visuals and make it actionable in a proper format and tell a story with the data. That's what we call it as analysis or analyze the data. So after building all this stuff, we have to give it to the users, right? We really don't send this developed report in an email to the people. What we do is we have an environment in Power BI which is hosted by Microsoft on a cloud, which we call it as Power BI Service. So it's a cloud-based service. So we publish this report, what we have developed with Power BI Desktop, to the cloud, which is Power BI Service. From there, the users in the company or the organization, we allow them to slice and dice the data and analyze the data and take the decision. So that's basically or mainly used for collaboration and security purposes. That's a simple gist about what Power BI as an ecosystem is. Now let's go ahead and understand the data and the project what we have in hand and proceed further. So hope you all have downloaded the file. So if you have already downloaded, you just right click on the zip file and unzip it, extract it. So you'll have all the images what you need to make this report, and you have a PBX file, which is a Power BI file, which I have already made. So if you get stuck, only if you get stuck, just open it and refer back to it. And I've also given a document where you have all the formulas, the color codes, everything needed to build this report. And we also have this Excel sheet, which is our data set with which we'll be building this Power BI report. Now let's understand the project. So we have a data set which is from a chocolate distribution company operating in United States. So what we are going to do over here is the customer has hired you as a BI consultant or BI developer. They have data for 3 years, 2022, 23, and a bit of data in 2024 as well. So they want to see the trend of sales, orders, and They also want to look at which warehouses execute more orders and which customers buys more, which product, which chocolates are selling more and in which region and all the stuff. So we'll be typically putting them a sales report and a orders overview report. There will be 2 pages. So we have a simple data set over here, which is a fact table, which is a growing table, which is our sales orders. This is where you have everyday entries of what is happening in the sales. And we also have a regions table, pretty simple small table, which says about which state it is and the code of that particular state and the region. So it's pretty simple and straightforward data set. We'll be working with this further. So let's open up our Power BI desktop. So hope you all have downloaded the folder and you are ready to start. If you have downloaded the Power BI desktop application, go ahead and open it. So it'll look something like this. So you have an icon over here. If you have pinned it in the taskbar, just click on it. You can open it. If not, go to your search bar and type Power BI. It will open up for you again. So when you fire it up or when you open the application, it will be something like this. If not, something like this. Okay. So just if you are in this window, just click on the new report and click on that. That is going to open you this new Power BI report. One thing you can see over here is I have my name over here. That's because I have signed in to the Power BI service cloud. So if you see to sign in over there, it's completely fine. You don't have to sign in right now. It's very much essential when you want to publish your report to the cloud. If not, that's completely fine. You can still work with Power BI desktop. So before we jump in, I want you to go ahead and make few changes in the setup so that yours and my Power BI as a tool will be similar, so that we'll not have a confusion while working with. So come here to this gear icon over here. Okay, click on this. It'll open up a screen or a window. So come to this global option and keep your data load as it is over here. Come to Power Query Editor, keep it as in over here. Again, come to the regional settings, keep it as English United States, both application and the model language. And come to the preview features. I want you to check everything apart from these two. And come to your current file again and go to the data load option. It should be same as what you see over here. And again, come to the regional settings and keep it as English United States. Now it shows as English Sweden. That's because that's where I stay. So it's picking my locale. So English United States. Now I've changed it to English United States. Keep it as same so that yours and my tool will be similar. We'll not have any confusion. So click OK and apply the changes. So now let's start with connecting to the data source, which is our Excel sheet, and pulling the data into Power BI desktop and transform the data. So you can imagine something like this. You are going to build a house. What is the first thing we do? We collect all the materials. We start with putting up a rigid, good foundation, right? That's what we do with data transformation, which we do it in a place called as Power Query Editor. So to go to Power Query Editor, just click on this transform data over here and again click on the transform data. So this is first part of the process, which is collecting the data and transforming the data. So if you see here, this is a completely different screen, okay, than the front end UI what we have. I'll explain you how the front end and kind of things when we come to the put up the visuals. But right now we are in the Power Query Editor. So let's pull the data and store the data here and transform, make some transformations on the data. So to start with, we have to connect to the data, right? To connect to the data, there is something called as connect to new sources. So click on this one. So you see some sources over here, and on top you see Excel workbook. So we can connect to a lot of sources over here, something like the flat file formats, a lot of databases like SQL and Postgres, SAP, etc. And you also have Microsoft platforms like Fabric, Power Platform and Azure, and we also have online data sources as well. So if you click here, you can see all the data sources. So what Microsoft has done is they have already built connectors for you so that we can connect to any of those data sets easily. So we can cancel this, again come back to new source, click on it and click on the Excel workbook. Now we have to navigate to the place or the folder where we have stored our files, which is DataDelimited Power BI training. So I'm connecting to my Chocofun dataset, which is in Excel. I click open. So it has connected to me, established the connection to the data set. Now it's showing 4 stuffs over here, right? So if you look here, it is showing 4 things over here. The first 2 things, the icon is a bit different. It looks like a table, and the rest of the last two ones, it's a sheet. So what's happening is, since it's an Excel data set, or it's an Excel tool, so Excel has different sheets and tables inside sheets, right? Currently we have 2 sheets in which we have 2 tables. So it's going to that particular sheet and picking the tables and telling us that there is a table over here, there are 2 tables over here, and there are 2 sheets. What do you want to take it up? Sometimes what happens is, in a sheet we might have 2 or 3 or 4 or more tables in it. So it will show all those tables separately. It's very intelligent to detect the tables inside the sheet and show it to us. So, and if you see something like this, it's always better option to pick the tables instead of a sheet, because since Power BI has detected the table, it has done some formatting for us by itself, and it's easy for us to load. So let's go ahead and click on this, and I select OK. So we have sales orders table and sales regions table in our Excel sheet. So let's go to the first table. If you see here, the name is a bit weird, so we have to change the name. Okay, so that's first transformation what we'll be doing. So if you look here now, we have all the table titles or the column headers over here. And if you see this particular pane, you have something called as applied steps and the table name or the table properties. So first thing is change the name. So instead of unleash data, we'll go and change it to sales orders. That's done. Hit enter. So if you look here, the table name has been changed. Okay. So what else can we do here? So first thing what you have to look out when you load the data is if the formats are correct. Okay, the data types are correct or not. So I want my order number should be a string or a text value. It's correct. So Power BI has gone ahead and checked on this particular column, and it has extracted, it understood that it's a date column, and it is converted to a date column. And this is a text again. The main thing is we have to check on the dates and the numbers. So if you look here, our order quantity is in numbers, our unit price is in decimal number, but we don't need these many decimal places. We'll convert this. So again, our cost price is a decimal number, line total is a decimal number. Okay, so this is something which we have to check. We need the numeric columns to be formatted as numeric. If not, we'll not be able to do any aggregations or calculations in the front end. So you can't multiply a text with a text, right? So if it is in text, you convert it to a numeric. So that's again very simple. So if you think that this was in text, for example, I just click on this number and convert it to a numeric or a whole number or decimal number. That's how it works. So let's do some transformation over here. So let's go ahead and round this unit price to 2 decimal places. So I'll click on this particular column. Any column, if you want to transform it, just click on this one. So when I click on this, you don't see anything over here. You have these tabs over here: transform, add column, view, tools, help, etc. Okay, so what transform does is, if you want to transform a particular column, that's where this particular tab will help us, and you will have all the tools necessary to transform this particular column. For example, since it's a decimal number, we can transform it like we have, unpivot, pivot. If it's a pivot table, we can unpivot it. If you want to pivot the table, you can do so. You can replace values, you can fill the values, convert it to a list, and a lot of things. Okay, so you can also change the data type from decimal number to a whole number here as well, instead of doing it here. So we also have text conversions. If you want to extract or split the column into 2 or extract a text, you can do that. And you have a numeric or arithmetic tools over here where you can do it. And if it's a date column, again, this is grayed out currently because it's a numeric column. If you click on a date column, this will this will be activated, and you can do the conversions of a date over here. And you also have advanced R and Python scripts which you can run to do the transformations as well. So it's not just Power BI, you can also integrate advanced statistical tools to run your transformations as well. So let's go ahead and convert this first to unit price. To convert it to unit price, we should always go to the numeric column and check if we have a tool to convert it over here. Now, if you see here, we have something called as rounding. So I'll click on this. I'll click on round, and it'll give me a message telling me to put the number of decimal values what I want to give that. So I'll just put 2 over here and click OK. Now this unit price has converted to a 2 decimal places. So now let's do the same thing with the line total over here. So I don't want all these decimals over here, so let's convert it to a round it off. So I click on this line total, come to my rounding option, round it to a 2 decimal places. So now what I want is, let's do some date level transformations. So what I want over here is, we have order date. I want to extract year and month name as a separate columns. So we now saw what transform does is, if we are in a particular column, it does the transformations to that particular column. So let's go to the order date. What I do is, I'll right click on this and duplicate this column. And now since I'm on order date, so I can transform on this column as well. So I click on this column and I go to this date options. Now see, this is not grayed out, so this is activated. So I click on this date and I'll extract the year. So now this is converted to a year. Okay. Now again, let's duplicate this twice again. So I'll right click on this and duplicate the column. And I'll again duplicate this column so that I also have a month name as well. So I click on this one and I'll click on this date and extract my month. I'll click on this again, click on date and go to the month. I'll extract the name of the month. See this? So we have a year. From the date column, we extracted year, month number and month name. So I'll go ahead and rename this. To rename it, just double click on the column header, year, month and month name. That's it. That's the transformations what we have to do. You can do a lot of stuff with Power Query Editor. So if you see here, you have a lot of conditional formatting and formatting options over here to add a conditional column. You can also write if you want an index to be done on a table, you can just go ahead and start from 0, start from 1, or if you can even give an indexing separately with custom numbers as well. So you can extract the text, etc. For example, if we have this order number, right? So if I want to extract something, if I want to extract the number after this hyphen, text after delimiter, I just click on this and give the delimiter. If you see here, we'll get a extracted number from that particular text. So we have most of the tools available for you to build or get the right foundations with Power BI, Power Query Editor. So I don't want this column, so I just delete it just to show you guys. So what's happening behind the scene is, whenever we are clicking and doing something, some transformations over here, behind the scene, there is a code written. Okay. So if we come to the Home tab and click on Advanced Editor over here, if you look here, this is a code what has been written by Power BI for us to help us out. So we don't have to write a code. This particular code snippet is written in a language called as mashup query language, or we call it as M code. Okay, so it's a functional language. That's the behind the scene coding language which is being used by Power Query Editor. So these are the codes which has been generated when we clicked and did the transformation on the sales orders table. So I'll just click on this, and later on when you become better with Power BI, this is one good language to learn. Again, you can have a lot of flexibility if you understand to write this M code. So let's come back to the regions table. First thing which I want to change is the name of the table. Earlier we went here and changed the name, right? So you can also double click here and change the name as well. So you can do the same thing in multiple places. So that's the fun with Power BI. So you have this name, status, start code and region. So this seems to be good for me. So I just have to change the table name. So one thing if you see over here is, it shows me this green graph and this valid, error and empty rows, right? So let's go back to sales orders table. I'll show you. Okay, now look at this warehouse code. So it tells me valid is this many and errors are this many, empty is this many. Okay, so which means it's a metadata, which means the data about the data. Okay, so it easily helps me to understand or debug the to understand the errors in my column if I have any, and try to get inside and understand how the data is it good or bad for analysis purpose, etc. So if you want this to be on, just go here to the view tab, okay, click on this and check mark all these three things. So it's a good practice. So I keep it all on this because I can easily look at the data and understand if there are any errors or not. Okay, so that's about it. That's the only transformation what we need for this. This is just the tip of iceberg. You can do a lot with Power BI or Power Query Editor. Now we have loaded the data, we have transformed the data, and we can load the data to Power BI. Now we have just pulled the data to Power Query Editor. It's not yet in the front end. Now if you see here, we don't have any data over here, okay, in the front end. So it should typically appear over here. So we don't have anything. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and load this particular data. So to do so, just click on this, close and apply. So when we do this, now the Power BI is fetching the data, doing all the transformations what is needed in Power Query Editor, and it will put up in the front end. So this is the first screen right now. Now if you see here, we have something called as a data pane, and you can see the table names what we have put up. If you expand this arrow, you can see the columns inside that table, right? So that's about Power Query Editor. That's where you connect to data sources and transform data. That's how you build your foundation. So the bricks, you are digging the foundation for your house and placing the walls and rocks and everything and building a strong foundation over there. So let's continue with data modeling and visualization. Now let's start with the user interface. Let's try to understand what we have over here in the user interface. So if you look here, these are called our tabs and these are the ribbons over here, and we have some things over here. I'll come back to this. So, and we have something called as panes. We call this as pane, P-A-N-E. Okay, so just come here, click on this additional the button over here and enable all the toggles over here. Just keep it on so that you have all the options available or the tools available to work on the report. So one more thing which I want to do is come to this view tab over here, and I want you to check this pane switcher, okay, and keep all the check marks ticked. So this will help us. So if we open it again, we don't have to, you know, it will open up in a completely different tabs over here. So it's easy for us to work with. If not, you'll have to close one and open the other one, and a lot of hassle. So keep this is something which is convenient. So I keep this, and if you see some difference in my user interface and your user interface, it would be because of the version. So Power BI is a tool which is improving very constantly. There are additions and new releases every month. Core thing will remain the same. It's just features which will be added on. So if you want to know the version which I'm using, just go to help and click on this info button about. So this will say the version what I'm using currently and what is yours. So if you see some differences, it's because just of the versioning. So apart from that, I think most of the core features will remain the same. So let's come back. So this is called as our canvas. This is where we'll be building all our reports or put all the visuals, etc. And if you come here, this is the data pane, okay? And this is where we can see the tables and data what we have. And if you click on this build a visual, you can see over here, whenever we drag and drop or add data to a particular visual, for example, like something like this. If I go to home tab, this is where I can select the visuals from. I click on a bar chart, for example, something just to show you guys. So if I click on the data over here in the build a visual, it will show up what should I put in my y-axis, what should I put in my x-axis, the legend, multiples and tooltips. Okay, so if I put something like the month name in my y-axis and something like my line total or order quantity or something in the x-axis, it will bring up a chart. Simple as it is. Okay, so that is going to show up over here in a build a visual. And we have something called as a format option. This is where we format this visual. For example, if I want to put switch off the background, it will switch off the background. If you want to put a border for this, it will put a border, etc. So all these changes could be done with format tab. And we have something called as analyzer over here, performance analyzer, which helps understanding how the visuals are performing or how your functions are performing in a report. very helpful for debugging and optimizing. So we have one more thing called as a bookmark selector. So we can bookmark a particular selection, and it's like taking a snapshot and saving that particular status, and you can use that bookmark when and where required, the same as we keep a bookmark in a book. So these are sync slicers, the next option. What it does is you can, if you want to sync the slicers in every page, or if you just want the slicers means filters, to work just on some visuals and not on other visuals and other pages kind of thing, you can work with sync slicers. And you have again the selection pane. We'll be working with selection pane also. So selection pane is the order of what you can change the order over here, and you can also hide and unhide some visuals and add it to bookmarks, etc., and work a lot with the selection. We'll be looking at few of the options here, if not everything, but let me minimize this and keep it. Let's come back to some important tabs over here. Now currently we are in a report view. Okay, these are different views. We have 4 views in Power BI. In the front end, which is report view, wherein we build the reports. The second one is a table view. This is where we can see the tables, what we have bought in, and all the values in it. So if I click the sales order, you have all the values after transformation. We can see what has been come to the front end. So the next thing is modeling. This is where we'll be currently working. So this is where we make the relationship. So for example, if you select a region, you should know what are the sales in the region, right? So we don't have a region in this particular sales order table. Okay, we only have region over here. So like something like northeast or northwest kind of regions. If I click on that, and if I want to look at the total line sales, so these two tables should talk to each other. So how do we make it happen? So let's come back over here just to show you this one. So we have this particular graph wherein we have month, name, and order quantity. Okay, if I put a slicer, or slicer is a filter, we call it a slicer in Power BI, and if I click on my region, so if I select something over here, nothing changes in this graph. It should be interactive, so nothing happens over here. So to make it happen, come to the model view, and we have, if you look here in the table view, we have something called as delivery region. Okay, so this is a code for every delivery region, and for every order they have a delivery region. Okay, so what we do is we come to the regions tab. We have the same short code over here. So same short code, okay, the region short code is over here. So this will not repeat, this will be a distinct ones for every region, for every state there is a code. So we just go ahead here and connect this short code with the delivery region. It's the same column in both the tables. I purposefully named it differently to show you that we can manually make the relationship. So if it had the same name, Power BI would have automatically detected the columns and it would have given a connection for you. So now it's connected. Now if you see here, there is an arrow, which means the data flows from this table to this table. Okay, it flows in the direction of the arrow, which means you can't filter anything. You can't put a filter from sales orders and change something or look at interactivity in regions table. Let's figure that out also. And we have one more thing which says one over here and many over here. Okay, which is a one to many, which means this in the regions table, this doesn't repeat. Okay, because Alabama short code is AL and it's only once. That's why we call this as a lookup table or a dimension table in the Power BI language, or in any data language. We call this as a dimension table, wherein this particular key column, we call it as a primary key, the key column wouldn't repeat the values. Okay, it should not be null, it should not be a repeated values. So that means it's a good key to pair up with the other table. So we have once this particular key, and we have many times, obviously, right? For every sales, so there would be 10 customers in Alabama who would be purchasing 10 times, so it will be repetitive. So those kind of tables, in this case the sales table, we call it as a fact table. Okay, so it's a many to one relationship, and it's filtering in one direction. Okay, so now if you go back to the front end, since we have connected, now if you click on Midwest, so the graph changes, right? It's interactive. So if we had connection from sales to region, then if you click on this one, this should have been changed, but it's not currently, because the filter should always flow from dimension to fact tables. Very rarely we'll have a flow which we make it two ways. We can always make it into two ways. If you click on the double click on this arrow, and you can make it as both the way, which is a bad thing. If you have aggregation, there are a lot of chances that it would go wrong. Okay, so always the best practice is to keep it one way, which is the flow should be from dimension to fact table, and the filters used should be, most of the time, most cases, should be from the dimension table. So let's come back to the front end. So this is how you can create a relationship and make it work. Okay, now this part of data modeling and putting our DAX measures, which we'll be seeing now. This is kind of after building the foundation of a house, you are building the frame, the structure, the walls, everything, right? It's like that. So if you have a good foundation, you can build a better structure upon it. That's what we do with data modeling and creating DAX measures. Then all your aesthetics, the interior, the exterior of the house, how you arrange it, how better functional you make the house, choosing the colors of the wall, everything, that's what is your visualization. So we have to choose the right visuals for the right kind of data what we show, and we should choose the right colors and patterns for the data what we show. So now that we have already connected both the tables, let's start putting up some calculated or DAX measures and calculated columns and the calculated table. So before getting into that, let me explain you what is DAX and how should you write a DAX, or how should you think about it. So what is DAX and how do we write a DAX formula? So DAX stands for data analysis expression, and again it's a similar to the M language which is used by Power Query. It's a different language in Power BI again. This is something which we use very frequently, if not M code, because this is where we write all our calculations and make things work. So DAX stands for data analysis expression. So how to write a DAX is pretty simple. First thing what I would do is I would phrase it out in a simple English language. So if I want to calculate a total sales, I would think something like this. Calculate the total sales from the sales column in the sales table and name it as total sales. Simple, plain English. So first thing what we do over here is the measure name. Okay, so that comes first. Then the operator, which is equal to, so that Power BI could detect, that's where the formula starts. Then the function name. So DAX has a lot of inbuilt functions like sum, count, distinct, and all the stuff. You have text functions, you have numeric functions, you have aggregation functions, you have time intelligence functions, a lot. Okay, so it's inbuilt functions. So you have to write the function name, then open the parenthesis and start writing the table name and the column name. That's it. So sum of sales table, sales column, and name it as total sales. That's about it. So what if you want to calculate the same just for one country? You can always go ahead and write total sales for Germany. The same way I would think, okay, I want to count, go to my sales table, check the sales column and check only for Germany, where the country, go to the country column, check for the country name in Germany, then calculate me that particular country's total sales. So first thing is I use sum of sales, then I'll filter it out for the Germany and put a calculate function around it so that it will work on both the columns together. Okay, and separate it with the comma. That will work. So you'll get only the sales amount only for the country, which is Germany. You have to learn DAX more, practice it more, only then you'll be able to get the gist of it. It's completely on how more you practice, more the functions you write, you'll get better at DAX. So let's begin writing some DAX in our Power BI. When without writing a DAX, without writing a measure, it will still show you a measure. Let me bring a card visual from here. You have a simple card visual over here. Good to show some numeric values. So I click over here and I'll bring my total line price over here. So line total. If I click on this, it will show me 5 million. Sum of sale is for the West is 5 million. If I uncheck this one, 17.41 million. So I put a card here. So I just check this line total and it will show me the sum of line total. So if you want to change it to average, you can change it. If you want a minimum value, you can change it, and you have a lot of options, aggregation options over here. This is something which Power BI is calculating for us, which is called as an implicit measure. So one thing about it is that it is okay to use it. It's easy for us to show some or look at something quickly, but it's not reusable. So if you want to multiply, for example, the total cost with quantity, then this is not a good thing to do. We can't do that, right? You can't bring in two field from here and multiply it and do that. So for that, we have to write the measure by ourselves. We have to write a DAX measure by ourselves, which is called as explicit measures. So let's see how to write this sum of line total, a simple measure. So to do so, let's go here in the new measure, click on this, and just give it a name as total line sales. Again, whenever we write a measure, we should always start with the aggregation function, which is the sum. Okay, that's what I'm calculating. The table name, which is sales orders. When you start typing in, the IntelliSense will kick in and it will show you the table and the fields over there. Line total. Close the parenthesis, hit enter. So I'll come to my home tab, click on a card visual again, and click this. If you see this, we have created a measure which is total line sales. It shows in a calculator symbol. Just click on this. It's the same number. Okay. Now we can recall the sales, total line sales, and do calculations with that also. So we'll be looking at it on the go. Right now, for everything, we'll be using an explicit measure, not an implicit measure. So now let's see how do we calculate a column. Okay. If you look here, what happens in a measure is, if I come to this DAX, okay, query view, and if I click on my total line sales, these three ellipses, quick queries, evaluate this measure. It's just a single value as it is. Okay. If I run this measure, it's a single value. So what happens in the front end is, it's a the RAM saving thing, or it saves a lot of space. It's not filling every row with line sales. So what happens is, when we put this up with a column over here, let me put a table. Okay, and if I put a region from here, from the regions table, and the total line sales, it will show me, it will on the fly calculate what's happening with every region. And it just stores one single value in the backend. It will only perform the calculation when you put across with a visual. Okay, so that's how it works. So it's very efficient in that way. I'll also show you how the calculated column works. So let's go back to the table view. It's easy for us to understand it over here. So I'll go to my sales orders table. I click on a new column. So for making your life easier, I already have a document over here in the downloadables, which you will be downloading. So I have all the measures, what is needed for this particular report to be developed is written over here. You can use this if you need, but try to look at it and understand it and try typing by yourself so that you have the muscle memory. So let's understand the total line cost. So let's put up the cost measure over here. Sorry, cost column over here. I'll copy this and put my new column. So the same thing, as we write a measure, it will pop up over here, the formula bar. So I'll put this, copy this, and we are just multiplying the table name and the field name into the table name and the field name. So if you look something here, the difference between a measure and a calculated column is that we don't need to give a aggregation in the beginning. It could take a naked reference of a function over here. We can put it without aggregation. Okay, so let me put multiply it. So we get, it's now what's happening in Power BI is it is going to the cost price, which is this column, and to the order quantity over here, and it's multiplying on every row and putting the value over here. So this is not very storage efficient as such, because it's calculating and putting the value in every row. So if possible, minimize the use of calculated columns and maximize the use of measures. Remember this, when should you put a column and when should you put a measure? Unless you need something to be used as a filter in the front end. For example, if I want to do a bucket, we want to know the pricing, okay, the sales orders, low, high and medium, kind of sales bucketing. I'll explain you the script as well. I'll go here and create a new column, copy this code. So what I'm telling over here is, if the sales orders line total is less than or equal to 300, mark it as low. And if the line total is more than 300 and less than 2000, mark it as medium. And if it is more than 2000 and less than 8000, mark it as high, rest of the things as very high. So this I could use it as a filter. So if I enter this, now this is a sales bucket. If I come here, I can use this as a slicer. Okay, so if I click the sales bucket, I can use this as a slicer. So how many orders do I have as a high sales value and kind of things. So if you want to use a filter in the front end, then better go for a column. If not, always try to use a measure. Okay, that will work the same. Now let's look at what else could we do with DAX. One is measures, one is putting up calculated column. Let's also put up a table. So we need a date table whenever we put a time intelligence function. So for example, if I want to know the sales with the reference to a time, it's always better to have a date table. So let's put a date table with DAX. We can use a date table. Normally what happens in a production or in a real world scenario is we'll have a date table in a company. We'll pull that from the database. If not, the second option is to put it in the Power Query. We can generate a table, a date table or a calendar table in the Power Query itself. The next option, the last option, is to put it in DAX, but I just wanted to show you we can put a DAX table here. So let's try to put a DAX table. Okay, I already have the script for it. So I have the calculated table for it. I'll explain the code for you. So go to the table tools over here and click on new table. That will again open as the formula bar. So I'll just paste my thing. So what I'm doing over here is, let me explain you the function. So this is a function, this is a measure or the table name, and I'm creating a variable. Variable is a function, variable called as minimum date. You can imagine variable as a bucket or a box. Okay, go and check the minimum order date or the least order date in my sales order. Okay, and it will store that particular minimum sales. And go and check my maximum date in my sales order and store it in a variable called as max date. So we have a minimum date and the maximum date, which is stored in two variables. Now whenever we have a variable, we should always have a return function. So that the stored variables or the stored values are returned. So from there, I go and add columns with reference to those values from the min date to the max date. I'll add the date, I'll add the year, I'll add the quarter, I'll have the date or month in this format and month number as well. So that's a simple table function. Okay. Or a simple DAX formula to make a date table. So I click enter. So what would happen over here is, so we have a date table over here. So whenever you have a date table, the first thing what you have to do is click on this 3 ellipses and mark it as a date table. Switch is on, and so I'm marking this date ref column as my date column and save this. So now what I'll do is I'll go back to my data model. Now if you see, we have a date table and I'll connect my date with my order date. Now these two tables will talk to each other. Okay, now I'll come back to my front end. So now we have learned what is a measure, how to put a measure in a DAX, what is a calculated column, when to use a calculated column. Only use it when you have to put a filter in the front end. If not, use explicit measures always. We also seen how to create a table with DAX. Now let's go ahead and put other measures and keep all the measures and calculations ready so that we can go ahead and do our interior work for the house, which is building the report or putting up the right visuals and colors. First thing what we have to do is we have to organize this measure. So it's okay to have it in tables, but if you see here, since it's a single value, it can sit on any of the tables. So if I want to change this from regions table to the sales table, I can do it from here. So now the measure goes and sits over here, but I don't want this. I want all my measures to be in a separate table. So to do that, I will go ahead and create a table. I'll just click on this enter data over here and give a table as measures. Sorry. Hit enter. So there will be a table which will add up to the data model. Okay, it's a standalone separate table, and I go here to all my measures. I'll go to the first measure which we created, which is sales order. I'll move it to the measures table. Okay, So let's go ahead and calculate other things as well. So if we have a total sales right now, let's go ahead and add one more measure, which is previous year sales, explicit measure. So if I copy this over here, total line sales is a measure which we already created. So I'm just calling that. I don't have to again go and write sum of total line sales, the table name, etc. And I'll tell calculate the total line sales, refer to my date table, same period last year. Okay, so that's it, and put a calculate function around it. It will work like a magic. So that's the previous year sales. So let's go ahead and add some more. How to calculate a previous month sales? We have the similar measure, which is previous month. Click on the new measure, copy this, and what I'm telling is create a variable and calculate the total line sales for previous month. And if there is a blank, I'm just putting one more piece of code over here to rectify my null values. If there is a blank value, that's it. Error handling, that's all it is. So previous month sales, so that's calculated now. So it's good to have a sales variance as well. So which is, just click on new measure. Sales variance is total sales minus previous month sales. So we get a variance from previous months, which is again a good indicator to show. So I hit enter. So let's go ahead and calculate the same thing for orders and profit. So to get that, first thing is, let's go to the orders, click on new measure. We have to have a base measure, which is the total orders. So let's go ahead and total orders is count the sales orders from the order numbers. I'm just typically counting the total number of orders. That's it. Hit enter. So that's going to give us the total order number or the total orders. Let's also calculate previous month's order. Click a new measure. So I'm the same way how we calculated the previous month sales. Okay, so we have total orders now. Go to the previous month, refer to the date table and get me the value. That's it. So that is done. And we also will calculate the order variance. To get the order variance, it's a similar calculation. We just have to go ahead and change the values over here. Copy the same formula, put it over here, change the name from sales to order and recalculate it. That's it. So if you see here, all my measures are sitting on the measures, table which we have created over here. Okay. So we have calculated, that's enough for our orders. Let's go ahead and calculate the profit. So how do we calculate the profit? So total line cost is something we haven't calculated yet as a measure. So it's a calculated column which we calculated. It's a calculated column which resides in our sales orders table. So we have to give an aggregation around it and pull that value as well. So total line cost, hit enter. So that will give us a total line profit, like sales minus the cost. That's it. So we can again give the previous month's profit over here. So we have the line profit, go to my date table, check the previous month, and if it is a null, handle it and calculate it. That's it. So let's calculate the profit variance. Again, the similar thing, line profit minus previous month's profit. I'll give me the variance for a month. Okay, just hit enter. That's it. That's the only measures what we need to put the report. So we'll go to this column one, which we created, which was as a placeholder when we created the table. I'll just go ahead and delete this. So we have kind of build our structure to the house. We have established the connection between all the tables. We are ready with calculated columns and the measures what we need to build the report. Now let's continue to build the report. So let's start putting up some visuals. In a real production environment, in a company if you're working on a project, so this is not how exactly we'll be doing it. Most of the times the 80% of transformation in Power Query will be done and 50 to 60% of DAX would be done. We'll be starting with visuals, then go back and forth and complete everything as a whole package. So coming back to visuals, it's very important to understand what are the metrics the users or the business users are looking for them to make a good decision. So that's how you'll be placing your visuals and selecting your visuals, what numbers to show and what not to show and where to show, how to show. So all these things are completely dependent on the story what you're building or what your user asks for. So let's begin with visualization. Before that, I just wanted to show you that if you don't know what visuals to put and when to put, I've made this chart selection guide for you guys, so you can go ahead and download it from the source notes itself. I've attached it over there. This is completely tool agnostic, and it has all the general and common visualizations which is needed for any tool. Okay, and it also includes all the Power BI tools in this. So if you are showing a single or paired up value, which are the visuals you should choose from, which are the prominent visuals, and if you are comparing or with a similar set, so what visuals you can choose, and all these things: composition, relationship, change over time, distribution, spatial analysis, and flow. Okay, so all these are the main categories, and these are the normal or easiest visuals, easiest and intuitive visuals which you can put together. It's kind of a poster which you can save it and use it, put it in your desktop or use it as a poster. So let's begin with the visualization. So the first thing is, let's go ahead and format this page, which will relate to the company's product line, which are chocolates. So we'll be using the colors and the textures which will resonate the character of the company. So just click on any free space in the canvas, go ahead and click here, so that we have the format tab over here, right? Okay, so just click on this one, and you have something called as page information. We are not going to do anything over here. We'll keep this page as a standard type. And canvas settings, let's keep it the same as it is. We are not going to make any changes over here. And the canvas background is something which will be changing. So we have place to add the images. So click on this browse. I've already attached the images. You can choose any of these things. I have two images. One has some chocolate splashing in it, and another one is plain. I would keep it plain and simple. I'll click on this one. So the image is already here, but you won't see that right now. That's because just go to the image fit and keep a fit over there, and the transparency is 100%. Let's make it as 0. That came in. So now let's minimize this. Now let's go to the wallpaper. Click on browse again. Take the wallpaper image from here, and again keep it as fit. And let's go to the filters pane. Go to the background. Let's give it as black and keep this transparency to 80%. And now that we have a problem, we can't see the text over here. So go to the text options over here, click this as, make it as white. So that's it. We are done with the formatting the page. It resonates the core color and the character of the company or the product what they sell. So let's keep this as the background for the pages what we create. So we'll be creating a sales overview and an orders overview page. So if you double click on this page 1 over here, the bottom, and you can rename to sales overview. Hit enter. And what we do is, we'll not be doing the same process again for the orders overview. We'll just duplicate the sheet and reuse this one. And click over here, orders overview. So let's start up putting with some filters or slicers as they call. So now to begin with, let's start putting up some slicers on the top to filter the data. Let's go ahead and select the visual, which is the slicer over here. Click on the slicer. So we get this object over here. We call this as an object. So let's first put a filter which will say what product we are selecting. So it can be something like this. So let's click on the format pane over here. First thing is, let's go ahead and change the slicer settings to drop down. So that's going to save us a lot of real estate over here. Let's format this particular slicer right now, which will sync with the report what we have. So first thing is, we'll go to the visual border and switch it on. Go to the size and style, click on the visual border, switch it on and make it as white. Okay. And let's keep the background on. Let's keep rest of the things in size and style as it is, and slicer setting as it is. And go to the slicer header and change this to Seco UI. We'll change the font and keep this as 10 as the size. So this is gonna give us a better sizing for it. Even the values, we'll just change it to 10 and Sego UI. Okay, so we have changed the text of the header and the values which is inside that as well. Okay, so now let's go to the font color in the slicer header. Font color, click on this and make this as a white chocolate kind of a color. So which would be the hex code of this is E6, E6, E6. Hit enter. Now that has changed the color of it. Now come back to size and style over here and let's keep the background on and increase the transparency of this to something like 55%. You can either enter or you can use the slider over here as well. Okay. Well, now this looks good. Okay. So this kind of merges with this, but I would prefer to keep it as something like a rounded rectangle. So in the visual border, we just give 4 px over here and keep it as a kind of a rounded rectangle. Okay. So this we have done with one slicer. So the next one is we'll be putting up. Oh, we haven't changed the name, I think. So okay. So now we have changed the name as well. Just copy this, Control C and Control V. So we'll not be doing this again and again for everything. Once you are done, we can use the same formatting options to the other slicers as well. So instead of product, we'll go ahead and select the year. So we'll uncheck this one and go to the date table and select the year. That's it. Okay. So we have the selection over here and we'll also select the month from the date table. So let's copy this, paste it again, and we'll, instead of year, we'll go ahead and check the month. So we have all this 3 beautiful slicers on the screen. Go ahead and format it so that it's on the same size. Just click on this highlighted notches over there and I'll just bring this together so we know that it's of the same size. Now this is better. Now if you can go and select in any of the month, year and the product name, and you are giving users the ability to slice and dice the data by doing this. Let me clean up the real estate now. So now it's all blank. We have 3 slicers on the top and we have set up the page. Let's go and add a slicer again, but it will be button slicer, which means let's show the year selection with the value which is the sales for those particular years. So let's go and click on this new slicer options, which is a new visual as it is, which was released very recently with Power BI. So let's go ahead and click on the formatting again and the data. I just keep my data and build a visual and format open, so it's very convenient for me to work on. So let's go ahead and select the year over here. So it's showing the years. So 22, 23 and 24, these are the years where we have data. So let's go and format this as well. So let's click on the size and style. You might be thinking we already have an year, why should we show this? You'll see that. So let's go ahead and click on the background. So let's keep it as 55% transparency again, similarly how we kept for this one. And click on the visual border on. Let's keep it as 4 so that it will be rounded corners. Okay, so I don't want the title over here, so I just take off the title. It's pretty much intuitive and understandable that it doesn't need a title over there. So let's go back to the shapes. Keep it as a rounded rectangle. So inside it will be a rounded rectangle. So this doesn't look much good because it's very much rounded. So let's keep it as 4 just to keep the consistency. So when I hover on this, I should change this to a chocolate color and my text should again change it to white when I select on it. So how to do that? So you have something called as buttons over here. So this will change the properties of the button. Now it's in a default state. So if I click on hover and if I go to the fill, okay, we have this color when it's hover. So I'll just click on this one. So the color is, the hex code of that particular color is this one, ED E6D6. So I click on this. I'm fine with this. So let's keep the transparency to 0 itself. So now if I hover on this, So this will give the color what we have selected right now. So now if I click on the press, so let me change the color again on the press. Okay, so when I press it, I need a color which is kind of chocolatish again, a dark kind of chocolate. So if I press on this, the color should be this particular hex codes. I have given all the hex codes in the document which you can download. So I click on this one. Now if I go ahead and press on this, that's going to change the color. So after it's selected, it's in black, which I want to change it again. So I click on the visual again, go to the selected, click on this, 795644, that's it. So okay, this is a fill which has changed right now, and see, on hover it's a different color, on press it's a different color, and when it's selected it's a different color. That's a good perspective of visual cue. But we have a problem here. When I've pressed the value, the label, the text is again in black color, so it's not visible. So let's go ahead and change that. So to do so, we have to go to where did we add the label over here? So it's in here. So if I select on selected and change the label color to white, it's done. So if I select it, now it's white. So we have changed the properties of that particular card, how it should behave when we hover and select and press, and we also changed the properties of the value, how it should display when we hover and press and select the particular visual. So now this will act as a slicer again. You don't have to select it over here. One, it's good that it's showing us what has happened in all these 3 years in numbers, and it's also selectable. It also acts as a slicer. Okay. So we'll also put the same slicer with the region names. So you don't have to do it again. Just click on this, Control C and Control V. That's it. So now what we're gonna do over here is, just instead of year, let's put the regions from the region table. That's it. Okay, we have to make some changes over here. If you figure out what was the difference over here, it was 3 rows and 3 columns. Let's go ahead and go to the layout over here. Instead of we don't want 3 rows to be shown, just 1 row and 3 columns. That's it. Sorry, 4 columns, right? We have 4 regions. So it will show the 4 columns. So Midwest, Northeast, South and West. So let's minimize this a bit and put this over here. There is one little change which we have to do on this one, which is the border. We have a white border on the slicer, right? Would it be good if we put a white border to this? So let's go ahead and check it out. Click on the slicer, go to the size and style. We have a visual border which is black in color. Let's go and change it to the color what we had over here, and we have changed the white border of this one as well. So we have to apply the same changes to this slicer as well. Just click on this one, go to the visual border, change it to this color. That's it. So we have set up the slicers what we need for this particular page to work. Let's go ahead and put the rest of the visuals. Now that we have our slicers, let's go ahead and start putting up other visualizations. Let's start with the card visual. Card visuals are good to show a single prominent value or a value along with a paired up value. So if we choose this simple card, we can only show a single valued visuals. So let's choose the new card visual. Click on this. So let's show the total orders, total sales and line profit. So total orders, total sales and line profit. Okay, so we have 3 of our major KPIs or indicators over here. So let's go ahead and start working with this. So right now we have the prominent values over here. Let's start from the size and style. Click on this, and I would keep my background off. I'll keep my visual border on and go here and change this to the color which we had chosen previously and make the corners as 4px. Okay, so the background is gone and we have a rounded corner around this in a white neat border. We'll keep the title switched off. We don't need a title for this. Let's go to the layout option. Okay, And we know it's a single row and maximum cards is 3. Currently it has picked up automatically, and keep this as it is. And let's go to the callout values now and keep this font as Sego UI, and let's give this 25, and let's make it as, right now it's only selected for one thing, so let's keep it as all and select it for one. It's 25. So everything has changed to 25 right now. As the font size, let's change the font as well. Okay, Sego UI, now it looks good. So let's change the color as well. Let's keep this 795644. So it has given that color. So let's right align it. We'll be bringing up some images over here to give a better visual cue. So let's keep it on. Now let's go to the label. The space between the label, let's keep it as 4px. Okay, now let's go to the layout and keep it as center line. It's center aligned right now. So that's all about the callout values. Let's go to the reference label. So here we can give a reference value or a paired up value as such. So let's go to total orders, select the first value where we have to give a paired up value and add the data. Let's go ahead and give previous month's order, which is PM orders, and order variance. So we have selected these two paired up value with this, and let's go and edit this one. So let's go ahead and edit the title. Let's keep it as 10, and for the value we'll keep it as 9 so that we have some space over here. Let me increase the size. So let's go to the divider, switch it on, and let me go and change this to a chocolate color, and let's keep it as the dashed one. Okay, so now this is for this particular card, so it's dashed, and we have two values over here. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for other as well. So from total line sales, let's go and add the data, which is our previous month sales and the order variance. Okay, now we have added that. Let's come back to title. Let's keep it as 11 and value as 9. Okay, and let's also give the divider a chocolatish tone, and instead of solid, let's give it as dashed. So that's done. So let's go back again and select the next one, which is line profit, and add the measure, which is previous month's profit, and the profit variance. Okay, now again, see, if you want to select a label or this particular label what you have put over here and edit on that one with different colors and kind of things, you can of course go ahead and select it in the select label, and you can get the options to edit those things as well. Okay, so it's more granular editing, so you can check that. Let's go to the line profit. Now let's hit the line profit. We have already added it, so let's go to the title and change this to 11 and the values to 9. And now we'll go to the divider and change this to a chocolatish tone and make it as dashed. Now we have kind of a better user interface and the page what you have put up. Let's go ahead and edit it a bit more further. So we have, after the values, we have something called as images. Okay, let's go here to the image and switch on the image, and let's click on the image. Instead of your image URL, just keep it as it is and go ahead and select on sales orders and browse to the file where we have. So we have an image for orders. Just click it on, click OK. Now it doesn't look good, right? So let's go ahead and edit this one and keep this space between the image as 1 and the size as 70. Let's keep it as left of text. Okay, now we have this particular image over there, and let's reduce the transparency because the important stuff is the numbers. So it's just a visual cue what we are providing with the image. So the prominent one should be a number. So let's keep the number bold, and let's go and do the same with others as well. So click on total line sales and browse on the image, the sales image over here, click on this, and again make this as 1 and 70 and left of text. Okay, so that comes up over there, and let's reduce the transparency as well to 50%, and let's go ahead and do it for the profit as well. So let's go to the profit, click on the browse, and let's click on profit image. So you can use other images if you wish to, but I've kind of made it ready with the same color code, so you can reuse it. And let's keep the transparency as 50%. Let's keep it as left of text, and keep the space as 1 and as size as 70. Let's make this cards also as rounded rectangle. Click on this one, go to the cards option from here, change everything to all, and instead of rectangle, click on rounded rectangle and keep the rounded corners as 4px. So this will look a bit more better. And go to the background. Let's go ahead and keep the same color, which is E6, E6, E6. Click on this and keep the transparency as 30%. So now this looks more better, right? So let's give the below part as well. Let's go to this reference labels again. Go to the reference labels and go to the background. Click here and keep the same color as it is. Okay, now this looks a bit more better, right? So we have these cards right now over here. Let's bring the size a bit down over here. It's like arranging it and put our visuals in a proper size, and let's align the card so that the values are visible. It's neat and clean. So now we have this thing, it looks good, but we have it would be better if we can give a colon or a division between the title and the number. So let's see how to do that. Let's click on this card again, go to the reference labels. So click on we already have PM orders and variants over here. I'll just select on the PM orders, and we can edit just this particular previous month orders over here. Okay, let's click on the field name. It's by default picked up the same field name. Field name. Let's put it on custom. So instead of PM orders, after orders, what I'll do is I'll just put a colon over here. So that'll give us that two colons over there. And order variants, I'll do the same thing. Instead of field name, I'll just click on custom and space colon. So that's better. So let's go on the total sales again. Total sales from our reference labels. Select the label PM sales. Instead of field name, go to custom and space and colon. That's it. So do the same thing for others as well. So let's go to the custom. Line profit again. Instead of total sales, let's go to line profit, and let's PM profit, custom title, profit, space, enter. Profit variance again, and custom field name, profit variance space, colon, space. That's how you can do it. So now this looks good. We have the image cues in the beginning and the prominent numbers over there. So one problem is the total line sales. Let's keep the names very simple, like order, sales, and line profit. To do that, you can go ahead. It's simple to do it from here. So just click on the from the data pane, just delete the total. So it will be orders. Double click on this one. Sales. Double click on the line profit and make it as profit. That's it. So we are done with the card visual. Now let's continue with the other visual. Let's start with the pie chart or a donut chart. So I like donut charts better than pie. So click on this donut chart over here. It's good to show the categories and category kind of data. So let's click on this one, and let's understand, since we have the regions over here, right? Let's see what is happening within those regions. So click on this object and go to the legend. In the legend, let's drag and drop the region, and in the values, let's drag and drop the number of orders. So we have total orders here. Let's put that on the values. So this is going to give us a beautiful donut chart with what is happening around the region. So let's go and edit the style of it. Let's go here and go to the background, and keep the transparency as 35%. Okay, now let's go to the visual border and switch it on and keep it as our chocolatish color and give it as 4px. So this is going to give us a beautiful donut chart. So let's go ahead and work a bit more on this. Since it's we have the legend, it doesn't look good, so I'll switch on the from the legend options, I'll switch off the legends, and in the details I would go ahead and click on the label contents, so we can give all the label details so that it will show me of the details of every region, the number of orders and the percentage of it. So we have our donut chart. Let's go and edit the slices as well, because these colors doesn't match with what we have right now. So let's go ahead and edit the colors over here. So let's go to the south. Let's give something like this color. And for the west, again another chocolate color over here. And for the Midwest, let's give a Turkish Delight chocolate color. And for the Northeast, let's give another color as well. So looks better, right? Okay, now let's work on the title. So let's go to the title. Let's see if it's the same font. If not, change it to the font size what we need and give it as 11, the size. And we have something called as divider over here in the title. So click on this one. I'll switch it on and give the chocolate color to the divider and make it as dashed instead. So this looks better now. So again, let's see if we can reduce the size of this value so that it looks, we can have more details or we'll have more space for the other graphs. So detail labels, go to the values, and it's a font is good, so I'll just click it on, make it as 8. So this has, we get more space for the other objects or visuals. Now this looks good. Let's go and add a map visual. Map or spatial analysis, very good for when we have something about the region. So let's go and click on this particular visual. You get to work with all these kind of visuals in the map or spatial analysis. So let's click the first one, simple map visual. Okay, so if you look here, we need the location data, right? It could be either a location data, it could be country or the state name, etc. And we also have the option to give latitude or longitude and bubble size and tooltip. So let's first drag and drop the name, which is the state name from our regions table. So it has already pointed the states in United States. It's very intelligent on that. It works with Microsoft Bing Maps. So in the bubble size, let's understand what is happening with total sales. So I want a bubble size. The size of this point should increase with respect to more sales. So that's what we give over here. And let's go ahead and add the tooltip, which is my profit percentage. To add a profit percentage, it's a pretty simple calculation. It's line profit divided by total line sales. We already have line profit calculated with our measure, and we also have total line sales. So we can make this measure and drag and drop this as well in the tooltip. So when I hover over here in any of the bubble, it will show me the profit percentage and the total line sales. So that's what is meant by the tooltip. So let's go ahead and make this beautiful. Go to the map settings and make this, instead of road, make it as a grayscale. Okay, this looks better. So let's go ahead and click on this donut chart, copy the formatting what is there in the donut chart and just paste it over here. So we got the divider, we got the title, everything. One thing which I want to change over here is, even in both the charts, is let's go to the title. I've clicked on the donut chart now, go to the title, and the text color of the title, let's put it as this white chocolate color. The same with map visual as well. See, the visual should be something like this. If a person looks at it, he should be able to understand what the visual is without even reading the title. Okay, but it's a good practice to give the title. So let's have the title as well, but I don't want that to be popped up or popped out. So my visuals are very important for me. So I keep these chart titles in this color, and Let's go ahead and build a bar chart or a clustered column chart. It's over here. Click on this. So I want to show my current year sales compared to same period last year sales. So we have made a measure for both. We have total line sales as our main measure, and we also have our previous year sales measure which we made. I'll just click on that, and in the x-axis I would need month, so I'll pick my month from the date table. So we have the date over here. So if you are not seeing these dates organized in this way, okay, that's because we have a problem with sorting. So if you go here, the sort axis, sort it on month, still you don't see this, come back to your table view, sort your month number, right click on this, sort ascending. First step, okay. Second step, come to your month name. That's the x-axis what we gave. So click on sort by column, give it as month number. Since our month number is sorted, so this month name also will be sorted accordingly. So let's click on this and click OK. Then everything will be sorted fine for you. So let's come back to the first screen and let's go ahead and sort this by month, and let's sort it by ascending. So that's it. So sort it by month by ascending. Now I'll click on this map visual. I'll click on the format painter and click again on this clustered or bar chart. So that will give me fix a lot of stuff for me so that I don't have to redo it. So again, I click on this one. I don't want to show the value like this. I'll check this data labels on so that my labels are over here. And what I do is click on this data labels again, data labels for everything. Okay, keep this data labels for all and values as list of display units 1000. Let's go to the columns now and click on the total line sales. I don't want this color. In the map and the bar chart, we have to change the colors. We have to keep this the line sales colors. I would rather give it a chocolatish color over here, and I'll also keep my background on, and I'll give a black background around it just to pop it up. And I'll again go to my previous year sales. Previous year sales is just for a reference, so I'll just give a not so prominent color for this. I'll just give my white chocolatish color for this and click on the background. I'll keep it as black again. Okay, now that gives me a better picture of it. One is I want to check, I don't want this grid. Second one is I don't want this color to be like this, and I want it inside the bar. So let's go ahead and change those things. First, come to data labels, apply settings to all, and it will show the orientation in the options. Keep it as vertical. Okay, and position inside end. So this is going to show the numbers inside end. So I would rather show my, since it's a white bar over here, so I would better show it in a black text. So what I'll do is I'll just click on that particular series, which is previous year sales, and I would rather show the value in white color, in black color. So that has become black, and change the size to 8. Again, go to the total line sales and make the value size to 8. So we have edited both the values. We have put it inside the bars, and let's go ahead, and since we have the labels inside, we don't need this y-axis labels. So let's go to the y-axis over here, and the title is something which I'll switch off, and the values is something which I'll switch off. It's easily understood that these are the values. Okay, this is the current year and the total or the previous year. So to do that, let's switch on the legend so that people would understand what colors mean. So on the legend, I'll put it as bottom center, and it will show me total line sales and previous year sales. So let's go ahead and switch off the x-axis month as well, or the title as well. So now it's understood that it's month in the x-axis, and it is the numbers are total line sales for the current year and the previous year. So it's pretty easy to understand. So now we are kind of done with this. Let's change the name of the title. So go to the title over here. I'll delete this. Let's say sales selected year versus previous year. Year versus previous year. Okay. So this is a pretty intuitive title now. So this is good to go. So let's also change the color of this particular map as well. So let's go to the bubbles and colors, change it to the chocolate color. Now this looks good. Let's arrange it with the equal distance in the spacings and kind of things. So we have one more or small space over here where we could add. Let's understand what is the 5 products which has more sales and the profit of those 5 products. So to do that, we can also work with tables or metrics. Metrics is something like a pivot table. So let's click on the metrics visual over here. And let me put the product, which is our product description, to the rows. Okay. And let's put total line sales and profit. Total line sales and line profit. Doesn't look good right now. We'll work on this. Now let's beautify this a bit. So first thing what I'll do is I'll switch off the totals, column subtotals and row subtotals. I don't want any totals over here. And next thing what I'll do is I don't want all these products over here and with the scroll bar. I just need my top 5 products. So what I'll do is I'll click on this. Okay. Now you know that we can apply filters over here, right? We can also apply in a different way. That is, I'll click on this particular visual. So you can apply 3 filters, 3 kinds of filters. Filters in a particular visual. That's what, since we have selected a visual, it's highlighting there. We can also apply a filter on this page. For example, let's keep year. Okay, I'll just drag and drop my year over here and I go to the basic filtering. If I click on 2023, all my data in this particular page will change to only year 2023. And you can do the same thing for the complete report as well. So if I drag and drop my year to filters on all the pages, any pages like order overview or sales overview, whatever you put, we can apply those filters in every page. Okay. So that's how it works. So there is one mistake which I've done. If you look here, I've been working with the orders overview page instead of sales overview page. Say our sales overview page is kind of the ones which we bought before. We can just change the name. That's not a big deal. So let's continue working with this. Later we can change the name. So let's click on this visual and work on this. Let's go to the profit. Let's go click on this visual. Let's take the filters. So I'm going to apply a filter on this. Okay, so I want by product description. I click on the product description, go to the basic filtering. I click on this top N filters. Okay, and N is a number which we can give. I need top 5 by value, by what? By total line sales. I just drag and drop it, my total line sales measure over here and apply filters. Now I only have the data or the lines or the products which has most number of sales. So I click on this one. I click the title on and I'll give a title which is sales versus profit by top 5 product. Okay, and I'll keep the thing as UI and I'll keep it as 11 and I keep my text color for the title as this one and I'll go here and increase the size of it. Now let's go ahead and work on this visual to make it similar to this one. So I click on this pie chart, format painter, I click on this. So something has happened. So only thing which I have to work is over here. So let's click on this one. My title was gone, so I'll just click it on. So check this on and let's go back to the work on this one. So let's click here. I want my row headers to be again CUI in 9. So all my row headers will become 9 and my column headers, I'll keep it as 10. That's fine for me. And let's go back to the style presets and keep it as minimal. Grid option and keep this as on and color as this one and that's fine for me. And go to the values and black. This one let's give it as the chocolate color and this one also let's give it as chocolate color, white chocolate color. Let's go to the column headers now. Let's keep this text color and background color as this E6. So that has changed. So now let's go to the row headers and again change the background color to this one. So now this looks better. Work on that one. See, if you don't see something, just click what you're looking for. For example, color. If I enter, wherever there is color to be changed, that those kind of things will be highlighted. So you can do that as well. Now let's go to the grid again. Let's take this blue colors off. So instead I'll put this colors. Back to the cell elements. Now we'll see what we should do over here. So if I click on this total line sales, okay, and I'll click on my data bars. So it will show me automatically which has higher with a kind of a bar graph over here. I'll go to the formula FX button over here and the positive bar. So I give my chocolate-ish color over here, which is for sales. So we have kept the same color, similar color for all the sales. Okay, now I'll give my negative bar of blue. Let this be, because we all have a positive bar, and let's keep this as it is. And I'll change the same thing with the line profit as well. So let's go to the line profit. I'll keep the data bars on, and instead of blue, what I do is I'll change the color over there as well. Let's give the color for this one, which is a Turkish delight chocolate color. So let's click OK. So that's pretty good, right? So we have a very good, very intuitive sales dashboard over here. Let's change the name. I was working on a wrong one right now. So sales overview. Okay. So let's duplicate this and rename the second one to orders overview, so that we don't have to rework on a lot of stuff. And I'll delete the first one which we made. Actually, I did not work on this. So actually I did not work on that. So I've deleted that. We have sales review and orders review. It's the same thing. We have orders review over here. We'll delete this and visuals from this and work on the orders review now. So we'll delete some visuals from this. For example, we don't need a card over here. So let's delete all these. I'll just click and select all the visuals and delete this. That's it. So we keep the slicers as it is, and we'll put up more visuals in the orders overview, which relates to all the visuals which will say about what's happening within the warehouses and what orders are shipped and all the stuff. So let's put up those visuals over here, and we also put a navigation button later. So let's start with orders overview. So we have completed the sales overview. Let's start with the orders overview. We'll be reusing certain visuals like the slicers, and we'll also copy our bar chart as well. Just click on this object, Control C, and go to the orders overview and Control V. So we get the bar chart over here. So let's go ahead and understand who are our top customers by sales and top 5 customers by profit as well. So click on this bar chart, and let's go here, and we don't need any of these things. We'll keep the total line sales. So top 5 customers by sales. So in our x-axis, we would need the customer name, which is name. So sales orders, customer name. So this should be our x-axis, and y-axis is total sales. So how to filter out the total 5? So we have this filters option over here. Okay, we can do this with DAX as well, but this is the easiest thing to do. So let's go to the customer name, click on this particular thing so that it will show the filters on this particular visual. And I go to basic filtering, click on this one and click on top N. So top 5, and the data what I want to show is by total line sales. I drag and drop it over here, apply filter. So we have our customers or top 5 customer by sales. Let's go and format this one. I'll click on this visual. Let's go to the column and change the color from this blue to the chocolate color. So we have this one, and I'll Control C and Control V. We have to change the title as well in both the things. So first thing is, let's change the title for this one. I'll double click on this. You can also do in this way. Double click on this. So this box will pop up. Then you can change it from here as well. So top 5 customers by sales. That's it. So I have my top 5 customer by sales. So right now we have to do the same thing with total profit. So in the y-axis, instead of total sales, I'll put my profit. So we have line profit over here. So I click on this one, and top 5 customer by sales, I'll go to this filters on this visual over here, and instead of total line sales, I'll delete this one. I'll bring my line profit here. Now I have total 5 or top 5 customers by profit. So these are the two things, two visuals, very important ones. So if you look here, it's not the same customers where we have, though they have, for example, E-Limited is our top customer. That's not the company which is providing us most profit. Most profit is by WUXI group. So however, if you see, E-Limited is in the 3rd place when it comes to profit, but they buy more products. Okay, so more profit driven customer is different, more sales driven customer is different. Okay, that's how you get the story. Let's go ahead and put a donut chart or a pie chart. So let's go here to sales overview. I'll just copy the same thing, Control C and Control V. So we have this chart over here. I'll just increase the size a bit, organize everything properly so that it looks good in your canvas. So let's put up which warehouse has executed more number of orders. Okay, so let's, instead of regions, let's add warehouse. So go to the sales orders. So we have something called as warehouse code over here. Just pick this one. So we have which warehouse executed more number of orders over here, and instead of so in your legend it should be warehouse code, in the values it should be total number of orders. So that's how we get this one. And go to the slices, and again we can go to the slides over here and change the colors to a better color which will suit our needs. Okay, so go to the all the slices. I have given a completely different colors right now. Okay, so that's how we can do it. And one more thing what we can do is we can just get a card over here and show one of the prominent values like total orders, and go to the size and style. Let's switch off the background and put it over here, and let's also change the callout value color to a chocolate color. Okay, and let's reduce the thing to something like value to something like 30, and the category label to 10. So that will neatly sit inside this. And I press Control and click on both the charts and Control G together. Okay, so that it's grouped. So this is not going to move. So if you move it, it's not going to move. Okay, so that's how you can do that. And if you see your card visual is not visible, then the problem would be that it's in the background. So what we can do is we can go to this selections over here, and if it was ungrouped, for example, I'll just ungroup this one. Now it's here, right? So if I click somewhere here, if the card visual is not visible, then just bring it to the top so that your card is visible in the front. Something similar to our PowerPoint. Okay, so I'll just click on both the visuals, the card and the donut chart, Control G. Now it's grouped. Okay, so we have 3 visuals currently. Let's go ahead and add a AI visual. Click on this visuals. So we have these many AI visuals currently. Okay, one is your key influences, by which you can understand what factors are influencing certain performances. We have a decomposition tree. We have Q&A, question and answers, where you can ask the questions. Power BI will suggest you with graphs and numbers. So we also have a narrative. Let's work on these two, which is a decomposition tree and a narrative. Click on the decomposition tree. It's a very good visual to understand the flow. Let me minimize everything over here. So my intention over here is to understand the flow between the orders, warehouse and customers. So what I'll do over here is drag and drop my total orders measure over here, total orders. In the build a visual, I just click on total orders in the analyze tab, and explain by, I would use my warehouse code, and I'll also put my customer name, which is my customer name. Okay, so now we have this particular visual. If I click on this plus, okay, and click on the warehouse code, it will show me all the warehouses, and if I click on this one, the customer name. Okay, this is very comprehensive visual if you want to understand how the flow is. So if you see this particular warehouse is executed 5944, let's give a filter on 2023. 3,341 orders, in which these were the customers. So if I click on the GUT 930, this will again show me the order execution for those customers which this particular warehouse has executed. So let's tidy a bit. So I'll click on this pie chart or donut chart visual and format painter. I'll click on this. So now let's go to this particular nodes and just check it out. So on the bars, colors, the positive colors, I'll give the same chocolatish tone to that, so that it looks good. And the negative bars, I keep it as a light color. So if at all we have a negative number, then that will show in that color. And for the trees connectors, go to this one. I'll change this to a dark chocolate color. Okay. The headers color, let's go and change the font and give it as some 11. And let's change the color to chocolate color. So that will give us a bit more notch to the character of the graph. And let's keep this as it is, and let's go to the background again and give this a light color. So it has changed, and we have something, right? So it has already adapted the rounded corners and all the other properties from this visual. So it looks good. So now let's go ahead and add one more AI visual, which is a smart narrative. So smart narrative works something like this. If I click on this narrative, so this is going to show you something like this. Okay. Use Copilot to create narrative with AI, or choose custom for more control. Okay. Right now, let me choose a custom. It already gave me some value. So it's giving me a story going to this particular screen or particular application and fetching out the important data from this particular page. So it is telling me AXW291 had the highest total orders at 3341, followed by these warehouses, and AXW291 accounted for 47.64% of total orders for this particular selected year. And at this particular number, Exact RX Corp had the highest total line sales and was 11.56 higher than Pure Group. So it's giving me a lot of generated AI informations or stories on this particular visuals. So you can again select what you need, which is important for you, and keep only those things as well. So if I, for example, if I want to delete this one, I can delete this. So nothing is going to change with this as such. We want to keep all these three things as the highlights. Again, you can go ahead and select, and if you want to highlight something, like for example, total orders or the warehouse number, just select on this one and make it as a bigger one, so that that will pop up. Okay, so whatever is important, if you want to pop it up, you can just try it out by giving a better resizing to the particular text. Let's go ahead and format it a bit so that it gets along with other visuals. So I click on this visual. First thing what I'll do is I'll switch off the background and size and style, and click on all the things, click on the text over here and change the font, make it to italics, and give the font color to white. So that has changed. I'll do the same thing for the second one as well. It's different calculations. Every line is a different calculation. So I'll go ahead and change this to white, and go ahead and change this as well to white, and change this to italics. So it's a quick reference of what is happening across in the perspective of deliveries and order execution. So by this, I think we have completed our orders overview page. We can go ahead and tidy it up a bit. Look at the spacings. If you want to change some aesthetics of it, make the changes. I'll just, for example, let's align this particular two visuals together and keep equidistant, the spacing and everything, and make it. You can try changing the graphs here and there and make it more perfect. It's completely up to you. So for example, if I would like to reduce this space a bit of this filter, so what I can do is I'll go to padding and keep it as 0 everywhere, so I can minimize it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and minimize the padding over here so that I can make it something like this. It looks better. So do the same thing for this one as well. and format painter and do the same thing for this. So I can minimize it so this looks better. Copy all these 3 filters, go to the sales overview and paste it. I don't have to redo it. I'll put a sync, which means the filters works together. If I filter something on this page, all the filters in the other page also should be the same. So I'll go ahead and delete these things, pull this over here. Okay, now we have put the filters. So we have kind of arranged the slices properly. Now let's put up a navigation menu, which means we can navigate between different pages. It will be convenient. So let's go ahead and select on Insert tab over here, and select the buttons, and you see this navigator, click on Page Navigator. So we get this Page Navigator, arrange it so that it will sync with the slices. Just move this month, year and product a bit over there and adjust the sizes. So I have now this navigation button over here. So if I click on this one, so if I click on, for example, I'm just pressing Control and clicking on Order Overview, this will go to the Order Overview page. Okay, so let's come back to the Sales Overview page. Let's work on this one. So click on this, and in the shape, I want you to select a rounded tab on both sides so that it looks like we have a rounded notch on both the buttons over here. Let's go to the style option over here, and now it's a selected state. Okay, so when it is selected, the border is black and the fill is also black. So let's go and select. If nothing is selected, by default the overview should be something like this. Okay, so now let's go to the hover. So when I hover, like when I move on this one, so it should give a slightly some different color. So let's select, for example, this color. So now if I hover, it will be in a different color for the border and as well as fill. Okay, so now if I click on press, so I should get the fill something like a light chocolate color. Okay, and if I press on, and let's keep the border in the same color as well, and let's click on selected. If I select it, now the fill should be chocolate and the border also should be black in color. That's it. So what happens is, now if I select one, this will be moving to Orders Overview page. Okay, so I'll just copy this one, same one, and paste it over here. And let me move my month a bit over here. Just can just copy and put the same visuals what we had in the other Sales Overview page. Okay, now if we are in the Orders Overview, I click on Sales Overview, we navigate there, and again I can navigate to the Orders Overview as well. So simple as it is, that's how we can work with buttons. Basically what's happening is, behind the scene, it's kind of bookmarking this particular page and navigating to that particular bookmark. So earlier we did not have this. We used to work with bookmarks and buttons and achieve the same things. Now we have ready-made buttons to make this happen. So we have this beautiful report right now. We can go ahead and publish this. Look, we can go ahead and see how to publish this particular report so that the users can view this report. To do that, right now I have signed in. So you need a domain email ID, which means your school email ID or your company email ID to get to sign it up. And what I can do is, let me go to the home screen. I can just publish this. Before publishing it, I have to save it. This is something which we should have done it earlier, but let me save this report. I'll save it as Chocofun. So I'll just save it in my OneDrive. That's it. Completed report. Save. So if you have completed until here, congratulations. Now let's see how to publish this report to the Microsoft Power BI service environment and see how users would look at this report. So I've opened a browser over here. Let me type in app.powerbi.com. So that's going to take me to my Microsoft Power BI service environment. You should have a domain email ID to get a trial license. Right now I'm using a trial license over here. So you can try it out. You just have to go ahead and buy a domain and have an email ID so that you can try this out. So what we have over here is something called as workspaces. So if I click over here in the workspace, you can see some of the workspace which are made. This is typically done by a tenant admin in the company organization, larger organizations. If it's a smaller organization, it would be the team who will be handling this again. So this is where you'll be publishing the report in the first place so that the stakeholders should be able to test it on, and the other developers or the team should be able to view it and test it, then deploy it to the production. If it's a very small team, what happens in smaller organizations is that they would be keeping it in the workspace and everybody would have a license to come and check it. So if you want to check the reports what you have published here, you should, or the users should at least have a Power BI Pro licenses. But in a larger organization, what would happen is we will put it here, test it, everybody is okay with the report, then we will deploy it to a place called as app, Power BI app. That's what you see over here. Okay, let's see how to do that. Let's come back to our report. So I'll go ahead and click on publish over here. And now it's asking me the workspace where I want to publish it to. Workspace, you can imagine something like this. If you have different teams in the organization, for example, a sales team, a finance team, operations team, etc. There are a certain group of people who should get access to that, right? Not everyone would see the sales data. Not everyone should see the finance data. So you can make different workspaces and give those groups or people access to that particular workspace so that only those people would be able to view the report. So let's go ahead and publish this to my demo Power BI workspace. I select this particular workspace and select it. So now it's working and publishing the report. Now it's successfully published the report. So let's go there to the Microsoft Service environment and now look at the workspace. Let's go to demo workspace. Now if you look here, we have the Chocofund completed report which is published. So we have a semantic model, which means all the data set and models, everything, and we have a report over here which is the visuals. Okay, so this is what we see as a developer. Since I'm an admin of the workspace, I can see everything, and you can manage access over here and give access to the people over here. If you're a viewer, you can't see the semantic model, you can only see the dashboard, and you can handle access and everything from here as well. But this is typically used by the key stakeholders and the people who are working with the project. If you want to deploy it to a larger audience, then the companies would go and subscribe to a premium capacity license, so that anyone in the organization with the organizational email ID with the right access would be able to view the report. Okay, so for example, if it's a smaller organization with 10 people, they would not go for a premium capacity license. Instead, they will buy the individual pro and premium license to the users and handle it. If it's a larger organization, for example, 1,000 people, everyone don't need a Power BI individual licenses. So the company will have a single premium capacity license so that everyone in the organization with the right access should be able to view the report. So let's publish this. So this is the first level. We have published it to the workspace. People can view it from here, the key stakeholders. Then you are deploying it to a larger audience. Then we have to push this particular report to the app space. That's where it's here. Okay. So let's go and update the app. So you can create an app and update the app, etc. So what I'll go and do is go to the content. I'll add my Chocofund report over here. So I already have bite-sized computer, that's a different report. And I'm also adding my Chocofund completed report over here. So I add this. So I've added this Chocofund report over here. I'll go to the audience. Now I can provide who should view the report, like new audiences, etc. I can add them. And I'll come back to this Chocofund report. By default, it will be hidden. So I'll just unhide this and update the app. So let me update. So what happens now is, if I go to the app, so you have the Chocofund report over here. So we have two reports which is published to the app. Now you can give access to anybody with the company email ID so that they would be able to work with this application. So that's about Microsoft Power BI service and the workspace, and we also seen the app. So we also understood when and where to use it. All right, everyone, that brings us to the end of this Power BI tutorial. I hope you all found this insightful and good starting point in your data visualization journey. Tag me when you share them online. I'd love to see your work and promote it as much as possible. I've provided my social handles below. Remember, what we have covered today is just tip of the iceberg. Power BI is a robust tool and there is so much to learn and explore. If you're serious about mastering Power BI and not just learning to use the tool, but truly understanding the concepts that will make you a proficient data analyst, check out my courses. And if you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it with others who might benefit from this as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification to stay updated with more content like this. Thank you for watching. Keep learning. I'll see you in the next one.